We need to do the intro for 538.
Who did that one?
Considering it started off with you on the topic and then you went full squirrel on me, we're gonna say you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 538 of the Dead Robot Society. I'm Terry Mixon. Joining me, Paul E. Cooley. How you doing, man?
I live. I'm actually in sunlight. I know I don't pass out, but there's actually sunlight in this room.
I'm surprised that you haven't burst into flames and collapsed into ashes because you're a vampire.
I walked outside today and did the lawn today, and the sun is shining bright, and I didn't feel steam come off my skin once.
Well, I don't know, man.
I didn't smell burning either. So
You can't smell anything with all the pollen and whatnot in the air. It's got your face all congested.
There is some truth in that. I'm still recovering. I don't know that I'm going to recover until the trees stop humping each other, but
At least you don't have to deal with, the burning remnants of the Deer Park fire.
Oh, for crying out loud. Are you guys still getting that crap? You're going to have benzene raining down on you for months.
I'm not even sure. It had went out and then that reignited and now it's all out in the ship channel. I don't know what's going on, but it's bad.
I was asking my dad about that. He said that gasoline precursors include tanks of toluene. And he said toluene is so explosive, its flash point is so low that the static electricity can set it off. And it's heat intolerant. So whatever they did, it blew the first one up, and then the second one went up because from the heat, and then the third one went up, and the fourth one went up, and they put some of them out, but they don't really go out. They just keep burning.
It wasn't just 4 tanks. I think grand total there was something like 16 or 17 tanks that caught fire.
Yeah, it's when it started. When it started at first, it was only 3 or 4 of them after the first one went up. But
I remember doing the math because my wife had read the article to me while we were driving somewhere, and it was like 1/20th, 5% of the tanks on that particular reservation went up.
Ugh.
Pretty serious shit.
Well, it's even worse when you're telling us the residents of Deer Park shelter in place for the next 48 to 72 hours.
All right, we're getting, this isn't an issue of squirrels here because we have devolved into this. So, it's actually very appropriate for this episode. So I'm going to go ahead and follow that squirrel for a little bit. The news reports, all they've been talking about is we've had state air regulators here, and the most thing that we're concerned about is the air quality that you put the damn fire out. That's what you should be concerned with. Because what are you going to do with the air quality? Oh, look, the air quality is not so great. What can we do about that? Maybe you can put the fire out.
According to the old man, some of that stuff just will not go out. There's no way to put it out. It just has to burn.
The only thing that they could do if the air quality got bad is start issuing mandatory evacuations and moving people away. But I think that if you're living somewhere near a chemical plant,
when something happens, get the fuck out.
You should go visit friends.
Yeah, you should go visit family. You should take that emergency vacation you've always wanted.
I understand that it's hard. You can't. I'm not going to be the guy that says, "Oh, you should not live near a chemical plant," because people don't control sometimes where they live. If they can't buy a new house, well, guess what? You're going to be living there. You're stuck where you are. And I'm not going to be the guy that says you should move, but you should definitely go visit somewhere else when a huge fire breaks out and chemicals are going everywhere.
Yeah, it's bad news, and we're not going to know how bad things are fucked up for quite a while, or where all that stuff's going to go. And we haven't had rain. Rain really would have helped.
Can you imagine how an event like that would screw up a writer?
What do you mean?
If you lived near the Deer Park plant and all of the chaos going around you, that would totally derail any writing. If you live in California and there's fires all around you, that would derail your writing.
Maybe, just a little. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So, Paul,
Yes.
you've been writing. I've heard.
Yes.
You told me.
Yes.
You are a god among men of writing.
No, I am not. If that were the case, I'd be getting 5,000 words a day.
Only
What?
Jake Bible does that.
Yeah, well, not so much anymore. Anyway, I'm back on the WIP and working on some other stuff too. Had to take a day off yesterday from all the code and all the other bullshit.
Mental health day.
Mental health day. I did stuff on the website and my website, trying to get things ready for a subscription service and getting that up and running. So, but eventually I found myself in front of the keyboard and looked at where it stopped in that sentence and was like, okay, just write. Don't worry about whether or not this is boring. Just fucking write it. So I went on 2,000 word jag and I need to get back to it because I still haven't finished the goddamn scene. So I'm happy.
That's awesome. I've got a little bit of writing in, but not for a couple of days.
Oh,
go ahead. And you were saying, before I cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, and I'm also outlining the dentist.
I swear, writing that outline is like pulling teeth.
Oh, God, that was horrible.
Yes, and I don't care.
Yeah. So, which book are you working on right now?
I'm working on Blood of Patriots, book 4 of the Humanity Unlimited saga.
Yeah.
And amusingly enough, I took something that had been there for a while and explained it a little bit more. And of course, I'm going through the process of writing it out and going, there could be a couple of reasons for this. And if I decide on one of them, I could totally shake up the entire backstory of this. So of course I do that. Now I have no idea what the implications are going to be going forward, which I love doing that because it just opens up more story for me to go down.
This is Terry and squirrels.
It is. But in my case, I love squirrels in my writing because the readers seem to enjoy me herring off after them. Why go ahead and have something be time travel when you can go ahead and make it part of the multi-dimensional crap that's going on?
Because you're fucking insane.
All right, here, folks, this is going to be a spoiler alert warning.
Here we go.
That may have read or maybe not have read the first 3 books in this series. But I'm going to lay out some backstory for Paul.
Oh, God.
Part of this whole series of novels is basically a Stargate knockoff. Gates that use wormholes to travel from one world to another. The entire how it works and the background behind it are different. So I'm basically stealing the concept without actually stealing any of the parts.
Okay.
One of the things that these people find as they're exploring our solar system is they find a frozen Earth, an entire frozen planet Earth out beyond the orbit of Pluto. It's the bodies and the technology that are there say that planet died when it was in the 23rd century. So it's a couple of hundred years more advanced than anything that they've got going there, but it's a planet full of dead people. They're like, how did this thing get here? Where did it come from? And the 2 big possibilities were it's from the future. Something tremendous happened and killed off humanity by sending it to the past. And it's a terrible thing that now they've got to figure that out because, humanity's going to die. Or it's from another universe. And I had to make a decision about which one it was going to be. And that's what I did. I made a decision.
Hopeless.
Why is that hopeless?
Just hopeless.
They could be wrong too.
Yes.
Just because I've said this is what we think it is, doesn't necessarily mean that you could say we've got possibility A and possibility B, but there could be a possibility C that they haven't thought of.
Right. That's when things get fun. That's when things get fun. That's one of the things I'm really enjoying about writing the present work in progress is the fact that they think they know what they're going to find.
The fools.
They think they know what they're going to find. They have a theory that matches up with everything that's going on and is so fucking completely off. Things are much, much worse.
What I did in the book that I thought that I wrote in the last scene that I put together was on this frozen planet, they found some of these gates that they've been using, but these gates would not connect with any of the other gates that they know of the address of. They'll only connect with the other gates inside the same facility. So they're guessing that this is a planet from another reality and there's some kind of difference to where it's like on a different network, but they could be wrong. And almost certainly as I write the story out, I'll find out a third or fourth possibility and I'll run with that.
Yeah, when the gate opens and a bunch of creatures come out and start eating you. Yeah, that's kind of a problem.
That happened last book. Sorry.
We can't do that again. This time we have to have a starship come through the gate and flatten everyone.
That happened in the second book.
God damn it, Terry.
Actually, both of those things happened in a form, but not quite the way you said it.
Yeah. Lion seckish. You know.
No, I'm being honest. It wasn't like an invasion, but both of those things did happen in previous books. If you stretch the definition far enough.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you stretch the definition. When you said the second one, that the second one had already happened, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's not what we're talking about. That is not what we're talking about.
Totally true. But it could happen this book because, you know, alien invasions are cool.
Terry just wants to write every kind of story there is with these same characters.
It wouldn't be the first time somebody's done something like that.
No, I know it's not. Do you think that's a fair statement, though?
No. There's a certain range of possibilities with these characters that I want to explore. And the potential outcomes for them would not be the same types of things I would write into an Empire book or a post-apocalyptic book. There are definitely limits on the type of story plot themes that I'm willing to put into this book.
Okay, willing to put in this book, or rather willing to put in this series?
Yes,
okay.
That's what I meant.
Okay. So what are the kinds of things you would not put in this series?
I'm not going to destroy civilization. I'm not going to write a post-apocalyptic. I will almost certainly not write an alien invasion because that's a different kind of story than the adventure that Stargate is. I'm trying to stay close to the theme of exploring new worlds, meeting strange people, fighting aliens, but I don't want to have a billion aliens show up and try to exterminate humanity on the planet.
Because that changes the story completely. It has ramifications, goes on forever.
It does. That's the type of change I'm not willing to do. It's not the same story.
Right.
I've got to be true to what the readers that are reading this series expect. And that is outside, that is what they would call beyond the pale.
That's interesting. There is a point where in any of these series where you come up against that decision. In Derelict, I could end that thing any one of a dozen ways. Yeah, but every single one of them has, depending on how we end it, a serious ramification for any stories that take place afterward. So I have to kind of delicately balance exactly how bad to fuck everything up before we, come to a conclusion, because it will change the way everything is written after that book.
If you use a property like Star Wars as an example, it seems like, this is not an intro to a show. It seems like we're trying to get into another show. So I need to drag this to a close, but I'm going to use Star Trek as an example to bring this to a close. There are certain themes that you can't get into when you're writing a Star Trek story, that just having something like that would change the feel of everything. Now, something like Deep Space Nine, they had the Dominion War. So they were able to do something the regular Star Trek wasn't. They had a war to fight. That would never have worked in Star Trek The Next Generation.
No, they did an episode, I think an alternate reality episode with Guinan and stuff where the Klingons and Romulans had gotten together and were kicking the shit out of the Federation. But I think that's as far as they went. That and the Borg, I think it was the only time they really fought a war, so to speak.
That's true. And they did have the Borg as a long time issue
Nemesis
going on. But in the Dominion War in Deep Space Nine, that actually covered a healthy chunk of screen time. It was actually a major plot theme throughout many, many episodes. So it wasn't just a one-off. They did things in that show that they could not have done in
TNG,
Voyager
yeah.
that they could have not done in any of the other franchises, because it just would change it so much. And it's the same with any of the series we write. We have a range of possibilities that we can touch on, but if you go too far, you change everything and you can never go back.
Yeah, what happens if the black starts talking?
Who says it doesn't?
What happens if in Derelict the whole solar system gets swarmed? It changes everything in a big, big way. And so, yeah, those are so at some point the decisions don't come lightly, because each of them has their own set of ramifications that are pretty heinous to deal with. So you do have to kind of be careful.
And at this point, we need to go ahead and transition to the actual show, where we talk about things like work, life balances, and of course, squirrels.
It's the same thing with you. You kind of have to make a decision about going wide versus going narrow. And it is the same kind of thing. You're going to have to try, or I am going to have to, and I think we are going to have to, if we want to continue with this kind of business model, is to find something that is going to be independent. And with a little more money, I think you can probably have a lot of the same tools that Patreon offers now, just with plugins for WordPress or something else. But I think there's a way to do it.
I suspect there is, but much like Amazon, I just think that most people are not going to be able to find you that way.
Right. Which is why it will work if you already have a following. You can do this. So that's where I am a little bit above the curve, because then basically, although, because the podcast is kind of like, hey, you can come sign up for this and get all this, for so many dollars a year or whatever. That's a little bit of a different thing than, hi, I'm Joe Blow, check out my work and give me money kind of deal. And I have no track record and you have no idea who I am.
You've been looking at my Patreon page.
Pretty much. So there's, it's not a single strategy. It's not a one size fits all strategy. It's not.
It also depends on what you want to get out of the platform.
Very true.
For me, I'm not trying to make a living on Patreon. I'm using it as a fuel to produce more, which admittedly over the last 3 days, I haven't produced much of jack shit.
God damn it, Terry.
Well, I haven't been feeling good, and I found other things to do, and I got past this. I'll go back to writing again in the morning. I just finished writing the stuff that I needed to write for Glenn, and I wasn't feeling good at the time frame I wrapped it up. So I've written a chapter since then, but I just haven't felt the drive over the last couple of days to do it. And I said, that's okay.
Yeah.
I just finished a project. I can take a couple of days and do something else and then get back into it. It's not like somebody else is driving my schedule. A couple of days to recuperate. Hey, that's okay.
That's kind of what I'm going to do with the robot job. I am because we can't. It's going to take I think another week and a half before he can get up here to handle the hardware, make the changes we need to make. So probably the rest of this week I'll do very little work on that, and the rest of the time is going to be spent on writing, and if I ever get my voice back, recording and getting all this other shit done, because it's just, fits and starts. And I've already racked up a fuck ton of hours in the first 2 weeks of March. So it's kind of like, I need a break before I fall over. And I've been doing this while I've been feeling like shit.
Balance is tough. Finding a
is.
balance between being a producer and having your home life and having everything else work out is very hard. It is not easy. And it's something that we all struggle with. And I think we just found our topic for today.
I think it's a lot worse when you work at home, though.
Are we already involved with this episode? Did we wander into another episode again?
I have no fucking idea. Probably.
I think we did. I think we've wandered into an episode.
Probably.
Work balance is hard because you've got only so many hours in a day, and you've got competing things of what you want to do, what you need to do. You've got the writing. You've got if you've got a day job, you've got the day job. You've got your family. You've got your health. You've got all of those things and plenty more, hobbies even, so that you actually have a life outside of what you're doing. Some people have hobbies. I don't know that you do, but some people do.
I used to.
I seem to remember something way, way back about Frisbee golf.
Yeah. Don't even go there. Anyway.
I have no idea why you stopped, so I can't. I have no idea what minefield I just wandered into.
Just a matter of schedules aligning and whether or not we would be 4 feet deep in rain, in water, which has been the case for like the last 5 months. So that's why.
You could go out now and just videotape people on their phones wandering around the park. You know, they're watching a beautiful park and they're wandering around with their face in their phone.
Did you see the thing about, I can't remember which country it is, if it's New Zealand or Australia, where it is, but they're putting in zombie cams.
I don't even know what that is.
Or not zombie cams, phone zombie prevention strips or something. Basically I can't remember the name of it. I'm sure I bollocksed it up, but zombie was in the name. It basically are markers so that when you're walking like an asshole down the sidewalk with your phone in front of you, when the light changes, it puts the changes on, it lights up the parts of the sidewalk to let you know that you're coming up to a crosswalk and the light is red. So they had some that I did not know what a phone zombie was until I read that article.
Now you got to keep people from walking out into the streets and being run over by buses.
Yep. Not because to save their lives, but think of the expenses, the lives, and the horror of everything else that happens to the other people involved in the wreck.
Yes, but the other people on the street probably wouldn't even see it because they're still too busy watching their phone.
Oh, Patricia died.
Wait a minute. Where's Patricia? Has anyone seen Patricia?
Has anyone seen Patricia? Oh, I got this slider on the Angry Birds. Yeah. I don't know why it's a British accent.
Let me check my app. Oh, look, her phone is back like 3 intersections. I wonder what all those sirens are for.
I was just thinking of the...
I sound like Miss Marple.
Oh, God, you sound worse than that. You sound just freaking awful.
You know, just bugger off.
Oh, God. Every time I'm here, like Carrie will go to bed early and I'll wander back in here and eventually I'll start working on something. And so even if I've done 10 hours in front of the computer already that day, there's another 3 or 4 hours because eventually I'll get bored with whatever I'm doing and suddenly it turns to writing or coding or whatever until I realize that suddenly it's 2 a.m. and it's time to go to bed.
Some people are more productive at night.
Yeah. It's just, am I really getting anything accomplished? Doesn't seem like it.
Most of us end up just stumbling our way into trying to find whatever balance we can out of life. And we only really realize there's a problem when, you know, you look around the house and the wife is gone and there's a note saying, "I'm divorcing you," sitting on the pillow.
You haven't showered in 9 days. I'm tired of this shit.
When she steps up in front of you with a can of deodorant and just starts hosing you down.
Yeah, exactly. I used to laugh about it when I saw the Dilbert's cartoon strip where it was like, you know, day 4 of working at home or of telecommuting. And so Dilbert, he's like got a beard and bathrobe. It's all holy and he's not wearing any shoes or socks. He's padding around his living room. He's like, you know, forget what human contact is like, rather joyful for it.
I've seen some of those, you know, stretch out, you know, the writer on day whatever, the writer after 1 year, can't speak.
Yeah, I seem to remember I used to have friends. Something happened to them. Yeah.
They went to Hogwarts.
They stopped calling. They stopped calling. So yeah, we were a real pain in the ass. I think when I had an office to go to every day, it meant there was a schedule. I had a very rigorous schedule on when I was going to be at work and for how long, because it took me so fucking long to get there. So I only had so many hours a day if I wanted to take the bus, between which I could actually work that day, which meant I had to go in hella early and leave hella early. And if I was driving, I had to either leave early or leave late on either side of things. So I knew my schedule was, and I knew how long it was going to take me to get home at a minimum, how long it was going to take me to get to work at a minimum, how many hours of daylight I had left when I got home, and what I had to do before the next day. I had a schedule. I don't have anything like that now. What I have is chaos.
And that makes it worse.
And that's the problem, getting the schedule set up. And I have got to do something about it this time, because this project nearly killed me.
I've been watching Dean Wesley Smith's blog for years. And about a year ago, they moved from the Oregon coast to Las Vegas. And this was for his wife's health, and she's doing much better there. But it is totally bollocksed his writing schedule, because living on the coast in a small rural town, what he did is he would do everything that you're going to do during the day, and he'd be sitting down at the computer to write at 10 or 11 p.m. and writing until like 4 in the morning, and then going to bed. And that was his schedule. It was for decades. And once he moved to Las Vegas, that no longer was an option, because they were doing stuff in town, and it's taken him, he's still struggling to find a new pattern of writing, a new balance to what he wants to do, because there's more things in life that he wants to do that require daylight, and him to be up at an hour that most people would recognize as normal. And so he's still struggling with finding that balance. He's using challenges to do it. He's set himself up a challenge to write a certain number of novels this year. And he was doing that to try to get a new writing schedule. And he's already failed this particular challenge twice. He started it, and then it did not work out, and he stopped. But he's had to evaluate everything about what he was doing, because his life changed. And in a way, that's when you move to being a full-time writer from having a schedule, it's very much the same sort of thing. You think that, oh, look, I got all these hours to do things. That's bullshit. You will find everything else in the universe to do around your house other than writing.
Yeah, because you'll find all the stuff you've been putting off for years. I'll do that when I have time, and suddenly it's either been so long that you no longer have the ability to put it off, or it needs to get done now, or it's really going to cost you a lot of money. So you have to kind of pick and choose your battles as it goes.
Or you start wandering around in a bathrobe with no shoes.
Peeking out the curtains. I never understood Men at Work's Who Can It Be Now until I started working at home. It's like somebody knocks on the door during the day. You're like, go the fuck away. I'm working. I don't want to talk to you. I don't know who you are. I don't know who you scary people are that aren't working during the day, but go away.
Here's what you need to do to scare people like that away. You go ahead, you know those little air horn cans? You need to rig up a little thing that looks like a bird feeder right outside your front door, and have a remote like Ring video thing. You see who it is, and then you hit the button, it goes right in their ear, and like sends them falling off of your porch.
I love it.
They won't come back much after that, and you'll get some entertaining video out of it.
Yeah, and then the lawsuits, they'll come after it. That's not important right now. Let's not talk about the lawsuits.
Let's not bring that into that. Let's not bring the law into this.
Why would you want to bring a lawsuit into this? I mean, come on. Anyway. So it's
you know what that reminds me of? And this is a digression, but sorry.
Another one?
Yeah. There was, I don't know the details of what this politician in Australia is, but some kid egged a politician recently, and the universe seemed shocked that he was arrested for it. Who figured? You know, it's okay to be against somebody, but when you start smacking them with things, sorry, they're going to arrest you.
And it's called assault.
That's called assault.
Yeah, it's called assault. Uh-huh. So when are we going to arrest you? Why don't you have a writing schedule?
I actually do have a writing schedule. I get up in the morning and I come upstairs, and normally I'll start writing and I'll get what I want done by 1 or 2 o'clock and then go on about the rest of my day. The last couple of days I haven't felt like producing anything, and I haven't, but hey, I've written a whole bunch using that schedule this year already, and it's been successful. I just haven't felt like doing it for the couple of days. I'll get back to it tomorrow.
So you use claim.
Sometimes being forced to have your seat in the chair is helpful.
Yes. Very much so.
Until you get up and say, you know, I could do a load of dishes. I should probably vacuum this, you know. I've been meaning to start learning origami.
Oh, God. So the way I've kind of broken that out is when I get up to go do something or get coffee, I'll go and I'll scurry and do some other chore while I'm waiting for coffee to brew, and take care of one small thing while I'm in the kitchen. And then every time I go back in there, take care of another small thing that only takes me a couple of minutes to do. And it keeps it from being a big deal when it comes time to clean the kitchen or anything else. I just need to start applying that to pretty much everything in my life, which is, once a day, get up, go do something in the yard, and come back inside, shower, go on with the rest of your freaking day.
I found that when I'm the most productive in writing, I'll sit down and I'll knock out 600, 700, 800 words, go get a cup of coffee, do something, come back, start the next set, and do like 3 sets of that. And I've got a chapter done, and I'm done for the day for writing.
Oh, must be.
If I could do that every day, then I'm more productive than if I try to write longer periods and fail. Sometimes a lower word count, a lower production rate that happens more consistently is better.
I'm not so much worried about how many hours I sit in the chair typing as much as, am I getting the writing done? Is it going? Is the story alive? Am I nurturing it and feeding it and doing all the nasty, horrible things I need to do to it? But it's just how many words you get done a day just kind of starts to add up in a really big hurry. So if I can sit down for an hour, and get 1,000 words, then that's what I'm going to do. If I can do it 3 times, 4 times a day, then awesome.
I see it less as words and more as scenes. I want to try to write a couple of scenes because it moves the story forward and it makes it more interesting for me of going, what happens next?
Have you ever counted up the number of scenes you actually have in one of your books?
Mm-hmm. I typically write 34 to 36 chapters with 2 scenes a chapter. And it's pretty straightforward. It's very seldom that it's below like 33 chapters. And I think the highest I've ever had is 38. So it's within a range. Why are you laughing?
Continue.
Mm-hmm. So within a roughly 5 chapter range is where my novels usually end up. And it's almost always 2 scenes per chapter.
Okay. I'm laughing because I think Destruction had 65 chapters.
Some people phrase it differently. Having a scene for me, it seems very comfortable for my writing style. A scene will end up being about 1,200 words, give or take 100. And it just flows exceptionally naturally for me to do that. Sometimes I'll have a scene that fills the entire chapter and only has one scene that's 2,000 or 3,000 words. That is what it is.
Yeah, it's variable. It's always going to be variable.
Mm-hmm. But that's where I sit with those, and it works well for me. So I'm not going to complain about it. People seem to enjoy it at that length. That works.
Yeah.
I know how I got there, because
How'd you get there?
When I went to Dragon Con in 2010 and attended the workshop that they were having there, one of the pieces of advice that they gave was to make a chapter length between 22 and 2,800 words, something like that. that's a comfortable length, that people aren't sitting there too long or it's not too short. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I stuck with that and I said, that's 2 scenes. And it's been that way ever since.
That's a whole nother topic.
It is another topic.
Yeah, this one leads to open warfare quite often.
People will find whatever chapter length works for them. And once you found it, rock on.
God.
This was just advice from a professional writer.
Yeah, I know.
It is what it is. And now I've even forgotten who it was. I could see his face, but I can't remember his name.
No, that's not the only time I've heard that. I've heard that on multiple writing podcasts and everything else. So it's not just your person. That's what you should probably be shooting for. I try and keep it under $3,000 for a chapter. Try to fail miserably quite often, but try and hold it to $3,000. But sometimes the scene keeps going, and it's tough because you want to cut it off and find a reason for a break. And sometimes I'll find an artificial reason for a break, because otherwise it's too goddamn long in a boardroom. It's especially bad with briefings. Whenever you get a whole bunch of people together to talk about anything, it turns into this goddamn, blah, blah, blah. It's hateful. I hate it. Love it. Awful. Horrible. Ugh. But you got to do it sometimes.
Sometimes. And it was Mike Stackpole was the run that was
Mike Stackpole. Yes. Mike Stackpole. Yeah. He's a good guy. And that's when we're talking about chapter lengths and scene lengths, etc. That's all part of the pacing of what you're doing anyway.
Mm-hmm. And that's another subject. We're talking about balancing our work lives. Let's drag back.
You got us on this goddamn thing.
I don't know how I did. I don't know how I did. You asked me how long. I don't know how we got there, but I blame you. I don't
remember anymore. Of course you blame me.
Well,
of course you blame me.
I've heard recently one of our patrons declared on Facebook that he is moving to becoming a full-time writer next month. And every time I see that, I wish them the very best of luck. And then I go, God, be ready for the next year of not knowing how to put anything together.
Yep.
Because I remember when I went
scrambling.
When I became a full-time writer, it was not by choice. I knew it was coming. But even so, trying to find that schedule to balance the lack of structure that no longer having a regular day job was just wrecked my writing for a year. I still produced, but oh my God, it was so much harder. And I look at people that say, I'm going full time, and I'm going, you fool. I should, that should be my response, fly, you fools, have the Gandalf thing.
Well, tomorrow and Thursday and probably Friday too, I'm going to treat myself to the coffee shop. I'm going to get the fuck out of the house for at least 3 hours, go be around other human beings and write my ass off. Because I know I do that well. I know I need to get out of here more often. I need to get around people because that's not really helping things with my brain. So I'm going to have to force myself to get back into the habit of spending a couple of mornings a week out of the house. Just not be here for a while and go do things, because I can focus a little bit better and hopefully make up for some of the lost productivity, come back and work on whatever I need to work on after that.
I think I may go see a movie this evening. It's been a while.
I might sleep this evening. It could happen.
Sleep is always good. See, that's another part of the schedule is figuring out when the right time is to go to sleep, when the right time is to get up. I can say that one thing that I absolutely do not miss, since I no longer have a day job, is waking up to an alarm. I do not use an alarm unless we've got an early morning appointment. And I can settle into a routine of going to bed around a certain time and waking up at a certain time. And it just works that way. And I don't have to have the stress of, Just totally ruining your day.
Well, just like it did when I worked for Schlumberger and had to do all those crazy hours, I've trained myself when to be awake. So it's like even if I go to bed at 2:30 in the morning, if it's a weekday, my eyes will pretty much flip open around 8. I just do. Which makes it bad if you're running a bunch of death march hours at night. You tend to not get enough sleep at all. So that's what's been happening the last week and a half. May also be why I'm so sick. Anyway, there is if you can get into that routine, like walking the dog every morning, if you know they're going to do that and you make a point to do it every morning, then hopefully it will become a routine. It hasn't for me because I've been too sick to walk the goddamn dog. In case you didn't know, it's still pollen apocalypse outside. And on top of that, there's a petrochemical refinery in Deer Park that is currently blowing up.
If only you had a button to, set off the air alarm at the door.
I think it would be easier if for instance, I had like, if I had certain responsibilities I had to take care of every day. People with kids, for instance, whether you work at home or you work in an office, what do you got to do in the morning? You got to get the kids up. You got to get them ready for school. You've got that whole 3-hour or how many hour drama it is of getting everybody where they're going to go. Once you got them where they're going to go, then you know what you need to do after that to do this, that, and the other. That's something constantly driving you forward, and you have to build your day around that.
It's easy to go ahead if you're very regimented to be more regimented, to go ahead and create other space to do certain things. Once you've got into that being regimented, then that part becomes easy. There are some people out there that their very nature is their life is broken up into 15-minute chunks, and they've got it all scheduled out. And I think that they are insane. They are mad.
I think there is a certain amount of psychopathy involved. Although, I wonder if that pattern carries over to when they actually have meetings, or if they're one of those people who thinks that their time is sacred, but have no problem standing up in a boardroom and wasting 5 hours of 9 people's times because they love to hear themselves talk.
Wow, that is quite the visual.
This is going to be like a 5-minute episode by the time I'm done cutting it. Gee, thanks, Terry.
The patrons will love us.
Apologize to all the other folks who aren't hearing or seeing half this shit.
See, if you were a patron, you too would be in on what I just said.
Yes, and we would be horror-stricken. I would be horror-stricken. You had to witness it. I am horror-stricken. See, what people don't understand is I have to live through this twice. The first time we do it live, and then when I go back to actually edit it, I have to experience this twice.
So you're basically saying that it's purgatory.
And if I'm putting together another episode, then I'm also reliving that one by a quarter. So basically every week I get to, relive 2 bad instances of my life.
And yet you come back week after week. You're a masochist.
Yeah, I know. It's not for you.
Does that make me a sadist?
It's not for you. No, it just makes you a jackass.
Okay.
Got us completely off topic again. See, here's what's funny. You're asking about work-life schedule. We have all these great tips and we don't follow them.
That's part of being a human being. There's a ton of great advice out there. Human beings are well built to ignore tons of great advice.
I always thought it strange that the child psychologists that I met, they had the most fucked up family lives themselves, most fucked up kids. I could wrap my head around that.
Well, the reason why is because their lives were so fucked up that they sought order in their own lives, and it's a way to address their own problems. Most people will find work that they truly love, if you find work you truly love, that addresses some aspect of your past.
Not true. Maybe.
It's a form of compensation.
Well, I know I
do that.
I wasn't talking about that they had fucked up family lives. I'm talking about that their kids are the ones that
Oh, well,
fucked up lives.
you know, there is that too. I knew a guy
I over-engineered the children.
I knew a guy once that was raised by a pair of psychologists. That man was more fucked up in the head than you could possibly imagine.
I just find it ironic.
It's like being raised in the middle of a science experiment for like 20 years. Mom, why are you writing something down on that clipboard? Just go on about eating your breakfast, dear.
Let's see. What did Freud say about this situation?
The subject ate blah, blah, blah.
All right. Pro tip for you folks at home. Do not raise your kids in a fucking Skinner box, okay? Just don't do it. No matter what they say on YouTube, don't do it. Oh, God, I'm sorry. I'm punch drunk. I can't help it.
You know, the opposite corollary of that is to do things, to leave bombs for your kids to find later, to just totally mess them up. One of the memes that I've seen said that when you have a baby, you should go ahead and take some pictures of yourselves rescuing a baby in the forest from a crashed spaceship and then stash them around the house in the attic for them to find when they're about 10. And then deny everything.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. It would totally screw up your kids.
Yeah, that's a good thing. No. Torture readers, not your kids.
You've never been a parent. That is not how this works.
I have not.
Torturing your kids is a thing.
I know it's a thing. I torture my nephew.
Some of the very best tortures for kids are totally unintentional.
Now that is very true.
There's a resort in Louisiana called Kashada, and they had a bunch of commercials on years and years ago about Kashada means I like it like that, was their theme. And my youngest stepdaughter was learning about the actual Kashada tribe of Indians. And part of it was to figure out what it meant, whatnot. And I popped off with, it means I like it like that, just because, that was the thing there. And she said it in class in front of everyone. It was totally humiliating.
Oh, no.
And do I feel bad? I do not.
Harry.
But I didn't intend for her to do that. I just, popped it off. And she took it as gospel because she was like 14.
Here are the rules of unintended consequences.
By now, all of my children know, don't believe anything I say.
Don't ask Harry. Don't ask him to tell you what it means. He might know, but he's not going to tell you the truth.
The very best plans for screwing up your kids just happen on the spur of the moment. Something happens and you just go down the path of evil.
You must have really loved Calvin and Hobbes when it was on and his dad's torturing him all the time.
I kind of did.
I kind of got that idea. Yep. Uh-huh.
It's like, here's an example for you. We were driving out of Houston to go visit somebody in Waco, and we're like all the way north on 290. So we're like an hour and a half away from the house already. And the oldest stepboy reaches up and presses the remote control garage door opener on the visor. And I'm like, my God, now we've got to drive back home to see if the door's open. Just spur of the moment response to something that he did. And I think I egged him on for like 3 or 4 minutes, even turned the car around and went back a little bit, just made him feel bad. I think this trained me well to be a writer.
Wow. Just wow.
Torturing children is a good lead in to being a writer.
The Dead Robot Society does not endorse torture of any kind on anyone real in physical form. Characters are completely different matter.
Yeah, that's true. But if you were a parent, you would understand.
I'm not saying I don't understand. I'm not even saying I don't condone.
I can say honestly, I got it from my mother because when my oldest stepchild was a kid, she said that there were squirrels in the tree. And my mother told her, said, if you want to get them to come down, just run around the tree and scream, I'm a nut, I'm a nut. And so she ran out there and did that and came back in and said, it didn't work. She said, try running the other direction.
Oh my
God. I obviously got this naturally.
Oh, the damage. The damage. Jesus.
She must have been, she was about 6 years old, so it was fun.
What if Hannibal Lecter was a parent?
Yes, Clarice.
Oh, but
we've wandered off topic again.
Oh, I'm shocked. As is
Yeah.
everybody at home. Jeez.
I think the first thing that you can do is try to get a grasp on what you're currently doing to balance your work life. Just give it some real thought. What kind of time are you devoting to your writing, to your family, to your day job? And just try to get a grip of where things currently are, because you can't figure out how to change something if you don't know what the current situation is. Just jot it down on a notepad, say, regular work day, I work from here to here, I devote family time from here to here, I write from here to here, and at least try to get a grasp on it and say, is there something that I would like to change? Is there something that I think could be changed? Because you can't change something if you don't know what it currently is.
Very true. Very, very true.
And a lot of us do that. We'll go, I need to do X, and you'll add it to your schedule without any kind of clue or comprehension of how it's going to screw up everything else you're doing. I want to train to run a marathon. Let me add that into my busy schedule.
Yeah, no.
There is a certain amount of minimum time you have to sleep if you're going to stay healthy. And exercise. Do not forget to exercise, even if it's only going out to walk. You don't want to be the guy sitting in the chair that dies of a heart attack.
No. You don't want to be that guy, do you?
Nope, you do not want to be that guy.
You don't want to be that guy? It'd be so epic.
You know, I think I'll pass on that.
The best part about actually dying is you don't have to pay the medical bills.
Yes, but what if you don't die?
Damn. I knew there was something to screw up my great plan. How dare you?
You just have to try harder next time.
They say there's only a certain number of hours in a day. It's very, very true. There are only certain hours. I can exist with only 6 hours of sleep for probably a couple of months. Probably. But at some point, my brain is going to go, we're done. You need to go away now. So I can only work so many 20-hour days in a month. I can only work so many 12-hour days in a month before it starts to grind me down into nothing. If I switch things around and break up the tasks and work a few hours here and there, I can work more hours and do it more effectually than trying to do one thing the entire time.
And sometimes that's a way to do things. Sometimes you can say, okay, this week, Monday, I'm going to devote a good chunk of hours to A. Tuesday, I'm going to spend some time writing. It doesn't have to be every day is identical to the very next day.
And that's probably the best way to do it. I just keep track of what I've got, what I'm getting done.
As long as you get something accomplished, it's a positive. You don't have to write 5,000 words a day. You don't have to write 2,500 words a day. As long as you write some words a day, you're going to get that work finished.
That's what they say.
Vacations. We should talk about that.
Vacations? What about
Sometimes you need to step away from what you do.
Vacation all I ever wanted. Vacation have to get away.
And it may involve going to a concert to hear Paul Cooley sing live.
Let's hope not. Dear God, let's hope not.
No, honestly, I had that asked me in a writing class. And they said,
you've been to a Paul Cooley concert?
No, when's the last time you took vacation? When's the last time you took a break from writing or writing-relating things that didn't involve just staying around your house? And my answer was, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think that I've taken a vacation in like a decade. I just don't go to it. I'm a homebody.
I don't really have too many things to do. You know, you got the time, you got no money. You got the money, you got no time. That's usually how that works. So, yeah, I don't really spend a whole lot of time. Anyway, I really enjoy going to my uncle and aunts in Colorado and try and do that at least twice a year. But when I'm there, I know everybody goes to bed early. I'll end up pulling out the iPad and start writing.
Actually, now that I think about it, that's not true. When I went to the workshops on the coast of Oregon, I'd fly out there and we'd spend a couple of weeks driving around Oregon and Washington State.
So that's the last vacation you had.
That's the last vacation I had. So I guess that would be 3 or 4 years ago, something like that. And it really totally recharged me. I didn't realize at the time that I just needed the time to just do something else. It was a lot of fun.
I think that's why this code project has really kind of straightened things out for me. Because it just, if you hit a wall, you go bang your head on that for a while, and you come back and your writer brain is like, hey, remember all that logic shit? Fuck that. Let's play.
Let's rock this shit.
Let's make this happen. 4 characters dead the next hour, or, you know, I'm just not going to talk to you anymore.
4 characters must die.
In 1 hour, Paul must kill 4 characters. I can do better than that.
I'm sure you can.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We rambled around enough.
I think we have rambled around.
I don't think this was an episode so much as a splat.
You know, occasionally you just got to have some splats.
Oh, God.
If you want to tell us about your splats, go ahead and send us a note at show@deadrobotsociety.com. And no porn jokes now, okay? Paul doesn't need any porn jokes.
Why did you even say that?
Well, splat, you know, that's obviously a porn-related subject.
Okay.
If you would like to send porn to Paul on Twitter, you will find him at Paul_E_Cooley.
You fucking asshole.
For God's sake, do not send any porn to the listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group, because we don't allow that kind of thing there. You can go ahead and find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast. The good folks at podhoster.com host our audio. And if you would like to support us on Patreon at patreon.com/DRS podcast, for as little as $1 a month, you can get exclusive content, like having your name read in these shows that doesn't involve porn. Go ahead, Paul.
And our $10 patrons are this week: JD Barker, Isabel Cushy, Chris Winder, Nathan Cosby, Lisa Slack, Andre Conde Moraes, Veronica, still telling stories from a padded room at the microphone, Jigare, Jack F6 Sick Hicks, Nick 6 Slick Bricks with Picks and Sticks, Tracy Bodine, Kelson, whoever slit the sheets is a good sheet slitter, DJ Chamberlain, Devin Lee, JR Handley, Cheryl Winters, John Kilgallen, Drew Princess Kelsey weaponizes M2 Bernardi, Rick, hey, what is this Shaw? This goes back to the button comment from last week. Anyway, continue.
Are you done?
Yeah,
I wasn't sure. That could have, you know, that didn't sound like an aside rather than a conclusion. I wasn't sure.
No, I'm done. Wow, this show has just been off.
No, that should be our title. DRS goes off their meds.
DRS goes off their meds. No, if we did that, we'd be much funnier.
This is true.
Anyway, thank you, patrons.
Thank you, folks, for listening in, and you have a great day.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.